Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Chat with Daddy, where we take a deep dive into the world of littles, middles, pets, and caregivers, and explore the joys and challenges of this unique lifestyle. Today, we're hanging out and having a chat with a little. And without further ado, here's the next episode. I'd first like to thank you for joining me today for this chat. It's a real pleasure having you. If you can just introduce yourself with your little name and age.
Hi, my name is Krista. My big age is 23 years old, and my little age is anywhere from 4 to 5 years old, but I've also kind of started dabbling into younger ages than that.
Okay, so how long have you been doing age regression for?
So I first found out about the community when I was about 19 years old, so I've been in it for a few years.
Okay, and you mentioned you're regressing at a younger age. What does that look like for you?
Um, there's not really too much of a difference between like when I'm more of a little girl versus more of when I'm like a baby, kind of. There's not too much of a difference other than when I'm a baby, I feel like I'm more nonverbal. I don't really speak as much. I don't really have as much like mobility kind of. Whereas if I'm like 4 to 5, I'm doing more activities, like I'm able to talk more.
Yeah, and when you are about to go to that headspace, do you have any specific triggers? Do you use anything to help you out to get in that headspace, or do you feel like you can get there pretty easy?
Usually if I have my Passian, that helps a lot. um Other than that, honestly, if someone is just able to baby me a lot, that really helps. And that helps me like kind of get into that mindset. I love the feeling of not feeling like I'm an adult, not feeling like I'm a big girl and I have to have somebody do, you know, everything for me.
Yeah. So is this something that you mostly do with others or partners, or is this you also do solo, or is this strictly with other people?
So I used to put myself in little space, and I did that for probably a good couple years. And then eventually I did find a daddy, and he does help me into little space.
Oh, good. And do you still have a daddy? Is that still a situation that you're in?
I do still have a daddy. He's not able to put me in little space as much right now just because he's very busy with his job, and I've been very busy with my normal life as well. But whenever we're able to actually spend time together and I do have an urge to be little, I do like to make that known to him, and he's pretty good at, at least attempting to put me in little space.
Oh, good. So, what would be like? So, how often do you tend to go in little space currently? Like, is this like once a day, week, month? And how often would you like to go in little space if you had the option of doing it whenever you could?
Uh, it kind of fluctuates depending on the month. I mean, some of my days are busier than others. Sometimes I don't always have like the motivation to be little. And I mean, I do also enjoy my adult time, so I'm able to just kind of switch back and forth. Um, if I was able to, I would say I'd probably like to be little. I don't know. I would say at least once a week, just because it's such a stress reliever for me, and I would like to have that escape more often.
And is that mostly why you do it as a stress reliever?
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. It just helps me with my mental health. It helps me with any stress I might be having. It serves as a bit of an escape for me, so it's nice just to be able to regress and, not have to worry about school or work, any of the big girl stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a specific time of day that you prefer? Are you more of a morning little, afternoon little, nighttime little, or is it any time?
Once in a while I do regress during the day, but for the most part I would say I'm more of a nighttime little.
Okay, so what are your favorite things to do at nighttime? Do you like storybooks or like that kind of stuff? What's your favorite thing to do?
I do like storybooks. Sometimes I like coloring. Sometimes I'll just watch like a show or something. I don't know. I guess the little things can keep me occupied for a bit. um, And then usually when I go to sleep or when I'm getting ready to go to sleep, my daddy's pretty good about singing me lullabies, so that also really helps.
Oh, that's adorable. Do you have a favorite lullaby?
Um, Not particularly. I like
No.
them all.
How about a favorite TV show that you watched in middle space?
That's a tough one.
Yeah?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. I haven't dabbled into like a ton of TV shows yet, but
Do you tend to go back to things that you used to watch when you were little, or do you like to not associate with things that when you were little and have it completely new for you?
uh it really hasn't been stuff, at least not at the moment, that I watched when I was like actually younger. But I like a lot of the stuff I watch is a little bit newer, I guess.
Yeah. So you mentioned passies earlier. Do you have a passy collection, or do you just have one that you always go to?
So I have three of them, but I do have one that I use the most.
Can you describe it?
I mean, it's not like the most interesting passy in the world, but it's my pink one. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a plain pink color and that's it. And I don't know. I just tend to gravitate towards that one the most.
I think that's the way it is sometimes when it comes to passies and stuffies. Sometimes it's not the most elaborate or expensive one. Sometimes we just have a favorite one just because. That's kind of cool. How about stuffies? Do you have a stuffy collection?
I do have quite a few stuffies, yes.
Yeah, like what do you think the number is?
Oh, it'd be so hard to tell. I have so many stuffies. Uh,
Are we talking 5, 10, 100, 1,000?
I don't think I'd have room for 1,000.
No.
um, I'd guess probably like 20 something.
Oh, that's a fair amount. That's not too bad at all. Do you have a favorite stuffy?
I do have a favorite stuffy. So I actually have like this pink unicorn, and Daddy actually got her for me, and I sleep with her every night, and it serves as like kind of a comfort item for me.
Oh, that's adorable. And how long have you been with your daddy for?
We have been together for a little over 2.5 years, and pretty soon it will be 3 years.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's really nice to have someone that's by your side like that. Did you meet your partner as a daddy, or did it evolve into that?
Yeah, so when we met, both of us were already in the community. So I was already little and he was already a daddy. And we had actually met on a platform that was like specifically for the DDLG community. And so he ended up like just randomly messaging me. I had expressed that I had wanted a daddy because, after some time I didn't really want to put myself in little space anymore. I wanted to see what it was like for someone else to do that for me. So, um, so I had expressed interest in that, and my daddy had reached out to me and, wanted to get to know me. So we started messaging, got to know each other, and then, yeah, eventually I became his little.
That's amazing. Do you mind sharing with the community what site you found? Just because I mean that's pretty cool that you found someone on a site just for littles and daddies. Are you okay sharing that with our audience?
Yeah, so I met him on a site called DDLG Friends. It's actually been kind of revamped a little bit. I met him on like the old site, like how the site used to be. I met him on there, and then it had like closed down for a little bit, and then I think somebody recently revived it. So it might be a little bit different than when him and I were on there. But yeah, that's the site I met him on.
Okay. Is this a free site or is this a pay site?
It's free.
Oh, great! I'm sure a lot of littles and daddies out there will be able to take advantage of that. I've actually never heard of it, so it's pretty good. That's awesome. Do you have you because you've obviously shared your stories online, that kind of stuff, in the community, I'm assuming. So have you received any negative stuff when it comes to sharing your little space online?
Not really. I mean, pretty much everybody that I've told about my little space has been, they've been very accepting of it, thankfully.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, I haven't really had any negative feedback, which makes me relieved because, I really feel for those who have had negative feedback with, them expressing that they're a little.
Have you shared your little space with anybody else other than your daddy or people online? Have you shared that with anybody in real life before?
I have told my friends, like my closest friends, and they were perfectly okay with it. I mean, they responded to it pretty well. They were just like, okay, well, if that's what you're into, okay, that's cool.
That is so great. Can you share with us how you did share with your friends? Is this something that you got ready for by reading something before, or did you just go out and just tell them?
So okay. So originally somebody online did know about it, and and my friends just happened to be kind of like in a conversation that me and my friend are having. So just randomly he had kind of like brought up the subject, and my friends weren't really understanding it, so I kind of explained what DDLG was to them. And at that point, I mean, I suppose it was a bit of an easy transition to tell them, like, oh, hey, I'm a little, this is what I do. And yeah, that's, like I said, they were pretty cool about it, and they didn't really have anything bad to say.
That's really good. I'm really happy to hear that was a positive experience. How did that make you feel being able to tell someone and it was being received positively like that?
It was really nice, and I'm not, I feel like it's kind of hard to tell people that you're a little at times because, like I said, it seems like there are plenty of people who have gotten negative feedback in the past about it. And I think that's really sad. So the fact that, my friends are great about it and they were like super accepting, it was kind of, relieving in a way.
Oh, I can imagine that being really relieving. Yeah, for sure. Especially since you said you've been doing it since 19 years old. And yeah, I'm sure that was a great relief. That must have felt really good and happy. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would love to tell their friends but are scared. Because it is a scary thing. I can understand that. And so good for you for having the bravery to do it because it must be not easy. Do, like, speaking of telling other people, if someone came up to you and told you that they wanted to share that with a loved one or a friend, what kind of advice would you give them?
That's a tough one. Um,
Hmm.
I haven't really, so as far as like in real life goes, I haven't really shared it with like a ton of people. I mean, my friends, that's about it. I haven't even, my family doesn't even know about it. So that's a bit of a tough one to give advice on. Um,
It is, but I mean, I think you went there a little bit too, because I mean, you were brave enough to tell your friends, and I mean, it came out in a different way with you, I think, instead of just going out and sharing that. Um, but I guess bravery is a big one for sure.
yeah, I would definitely say bravery. I would probably the biggest thing I would say is make sure make sure you explain it very well because if people I've noticed if you try to look up this stuff online sometimes a lot of sources won't tell you like the whole thing or they don't explain it very well or it can be kind of painted in like a negative light. um so I would probably just say like explain it really well and just kind of show them, hey, this is this can be a really good thing.
Yes, I agree. Have you been to any events in your local area for littles or middles and pets and that kind of stuff?
I have not. I don't think there really are too many events like near me. I would love to go to an event. I was actually talking with my daddy about that one day, and that's something we've been interested in doing. I would love to go to like a Littles event.
And he would be interested as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's so great. That's awesome that he's open to that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm assuming you probably live in a smaller town. Is that why you don't think there's events close to you?
Yeah, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, and my area in general, I mean, there's really not like a whole lot that goes on.
Yeah, I guess that could be a bit harder in a small town or in towns that don't have that kind of stuff. How do you balance your adult life and your little life?
Uh, well, I'll be real, the balance doesn't look too good right now. It's probably pretty unbalanced right now, unfortunately. Like I said, I would love to be a little more, just
Yeah.
because I feel like life is, like the point I'm at in life right now is super stressful and it can be really overwhelming at times. So I would love to be a little more just to kind of, have that escape and just get away from it for a bit because right now I feel like I'm having such a hard time, kind of just putting that off to the side because I always feel like I got to be doing something. School especially is super crazy for me right now. And I feel like being in little space, maybe just once a week or something, would make a huge difference.
For sure. Do you currently live with your daddy, or do you guys live separately?
We live separately. We're long distance.
Okay, long distance. That probably makes it a bit harder for sure. Okay, so do you guys get to see each other once in a while at least?
Usually, so he'll try to like call me every night, and then usually if we're trying to see each other in person, that pretty much only happens like once a year.
Oh, that's too bad. But it's good that he's able to contact you every day. That must feel really good.
Oh, absolutely.
Good. That's awesome. Um, I mentioned earlier about watching TV shows and stuff when you're actually little, but do you ever get a feeling of nostalgia when you go into Little Space?
Um, I don't know if I really feel like a ton of nostalgia. Maybe like a little bit, but I don't know if it's like a ton just because I feel like a lot of, well, I don't know. Some of the stuff that I do in Little Space, I didn't, like some of that stuff I didn't do when I was like actually younger. So I guess it just depends on the thing.
That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, even me as a daddy, like like nostalgia is a big part of it for me as well. Because I used to watch cartoons, that kind of stuff as a kid as well. So when I do watch cartoons with my little, I get in that headspace too. Actually, speaking of headspace, do you find yourself more creative when you're in little space?
Um, kind of, I guess kind of sort of. Once again, it can kind of depend. Sometimes when I'm in little space, I guess I'm not really like thinking too much. I'm not trying to be like super creative, I guess. Um, I can be mostly creative when I'm coloring. Like coloring is one of the things that I love to do in little space. I guess that's like the most creative I get with things. But other than that, I actually feel I'm probably a little more creative when I'm big. I know that sounds
Okay.
like a little, I don't know. That pro that probably sounds like a little backwards, I guess. Like, I guess I would think I would be more creative in little space.
I don't think it sounds backwards. I think everybody's pretty much unique. The more I'm hearing these stories, the more I'm starting to realize that there are a lot of commonalities, but there's also a lot of individuality between all littles, middles, and even daddies and mommies. Like when it comes to that kind of stuff. For me, I do find myself a little bit more creative when it comes to doing various things. I find my imagination gets heightened, which can be a lot of fun as well. Thinking back in the past few years that you've been doing it, can you remember a time where you were like, wow, this is a lot of fun, where you had like so much fun being in Little Space? Can you think of a time?
Let me see. I'd have to really think. Um, it's kind of hard. I don't have too many of those moments just because I don't know where I currently live. Little space is a little bit iffy.
That's okay. How about how does it make you feel when you have your passy or maybe a onesie or stuffy? Do you get any physical sensations? Like I've heard of people getting like goosebumps behind their neck or tinglies in the fingertips, stuff like that. Do you have anything, a physical reaction to it?
I don't really have a reaction like that, but I would say the biggest thing is I just feel super relaxed. So kind of sort of the opposite of that, I guess. I just feel super relaxed. Like I feel like I don't have like any tension in my body, and that's that's what I mean with it helps me cope with stress. Like when I'm in little space, like I'm really not overthinking anything. Like my whole body just relaxes, and it's just this really nice feeling.
Well, I think that that falls into the column of feelings, feeling relaxed. That's your whole body's feeling good. So that's yeah, it's got to be a great feeling to feel like that for sure. Do you have any favorite foods that you eat while in your little space?
Um, Usually when I'm in little space, I like having like I don't know, little snacks and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess kind of um s- like smaller foods, if that makes sense. I feel like that really helps me stay in into the headspace as well.
For sure. Little fishies, those are really popular right here. Those little fishy crackers. Sorry. Do you find that your adult self and your little self, do you find that there are differences between the two that you would never think that you would enjoy, but as your little self, you do enjoy?
That's a tough one. I don't know. I feel like I kind of enjoy the same things, but of course, when I'm in little space, I feel like I do tend to kind of think the things differently. So like more of like a little kid mindset, like how a little kid would think of those things. Whereas if I'm big, how an adult would think of those things. So I feel like the mindset is just like a little bit different, like the perspective. But other than that, I feel like I kind of enjoy similar things.
So going back to your partner, when you guys chat on the phone, what kind of things, and you go into little space, you said that he reads you stories or sings you lullabies. Is there other activities that you guys do?
Other than that, not really a ton, just because like when he's able to call me, usually it's only at night because he is so busy during the day to where like nighttime is like the only time he's available to like spend time with me. So a lot of it's either stories or like, he sings me lullabies. Other than that, when he's helping me in a little space, kind of like I mentioned earlier, you know, he just when he's helping me in, he tends to just, baby me a lot and, makes it feel like, I'm daddy's little baby and, I'm not a big girl and I can't do anything myself.
Oh, that's super cute. Do you have any advice? Because I know I've spoke to a few littles and middles that did have long distance relationships. Do you have any advice for our listeners out there that are currently in a long distance relationship with a daddy or middle or little?
I mean, probably the biggest thing I would say is communication, and I mean that can be said for, you know, whether you're big or little. Honestly, like communication really is the biggest thing. And I mean, when you're long distance, communication is pretty much all you have. You're not able to see them physically, really. So I would just say, like, you know, whether you're like, if you're big, communication is definitely important. And then, if you're little, make it known, um, kind of make it known that, you want to be in little space, make it known your needs for little space. Make sure you communicate like what you want and that your partner is able to kind of fulfill that for you.
Yeah, communication is very important, and I can see that being even more important. You're right, in a long distance relationship like that. This actually pretty much concludes the chat slash interview. But do you have any advice that you'd like to give anybody out there, any listeners?
I guess I would just want to say, like, I want to reassure all of the littles out there that everybody is perfect how they are. It is never a bad thing to be little. You know, um, I'm so sorry.
No, don't
um,
apologize. You're doing great.
um, all littles are perfect the way they are. It is never a bad thing to be little, no matter what anybody tells you. And I think we should all be, pretty proud to be in such a wonderful community.
You're right, and it is a great community. There's so much love, affection, kindness, support. I've been blown away since I've been part of this community about how much love and support comes from everybody. It's really beautiful to see. The On my channel, I just want to, as a last question, what's your favorite type of videos that I make? Is there like a category that you prefer the most?
Oh, that's a tough one. I
Like
don't know.
in the
I kind
sense
of
of,
enjoy all the audios that you make.
oh, now you're just making me feel really good right now. Well, thank you. I appreciate you enjoyed them. I enjoy making them. They're a lot of fun to make. So yeah. Well, what a great little chat. Unfortunately, my application closed before I got to record the goodbye, but I'd like to thank Krista again for participating. You did a great job. And if you're a little, middle, pet, or caregiver out there and would like to join in and participate in the series, please send me an email below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And until then, I hope everybody's having a great week.